Hello everyone. Happy Whine Wednesday. I hopped on here for a second ago, but was having some technical difficulties. So for those of you who got a notification that I was on and then I went away, that's what happened. So happy Whine Wednesday. Normally I like to record these the other way. But that was my technical difficulty that I had, is that it wouldn't let me. And I know it's something I've done before. And normally I'll take the Whine Wednesday and I'll put it up on YouTube, which looks better when it's recorded the other way. So now I have to do research after this. So technology, there's always something new to learn. So for those of you who have not joined me for a Whine Wednesday before, this is when we either have a glass of wine or whine about our dogs. Or I guess for today, right now, maybe whine about lockdown, whine about things we're missing out on, things we wish we could be doing, any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I had just finished up with some virtual private clients. So I was hoping to hop on here a little bit earlier, but that was kind of ran a little bit later than it normally would, which is okay. So I'm here now, so that's okay. But yeah, we did some virtual dog training. For those of you who don't know, we are sadly right now closed to in-person training. We feel it's important that we kind of, do what we need to for our community and to help keep everyone as safe as possible. So we have canceled all of our in-person private and group. So the only programs we're running right now is, of course, board and train, and because the dog stays here, and our virtual private training. So that's what I was doing right before this. So for this evening, I'm having a little glass of wine. Jason poured this for me. I believe it's Jackson Triggs Pinot Grigio, though. That's my gut reaction. So normally I share what wine I'm having. My guess is Jackson Triggs Pinot Grigio. Having in my favorite wine glass, my Tasha's Dog Training wine glass. I'm sporting my Tasha's Dog Training gear here. And I'm just at home, enjoying life as much as I can. So I hope everyone else is doing good. Ooh, Michelle, you're having Caesar Wednesday. I like that. A Caesar would be nice too. I've never personally made a Caesar myself, but I do enjoy it when other people make it for me. So maybe you can make it for me when we're not forced to be locked down. But Caesar Wednesday, I like that. We accept all types of beverages here at Whine Wednesday. It doesn't just have to be wine. It could be, beer, beverage, some tea, coffee. We accept it all. So no judgments here, but I'm going for the wine. Which is delicious, by the way. I don't know what this week has been like for you guys. A friend of mine even called me this morning to tell me that she had thought it was Thursday and it was only Wednesday. So it was pretty upsetting for her to discover that. So that's kind of how the week is, though. I felt it too. Oh, Rain, I never consider our talks you whining, but I know what you mean. And you definitely deserve a glass of wine, probably more than most people I know right now, but I love our chit chats, and we can, as soon as I get off here, we can hop over into the other chat and see what's happening. So yeah, that's what's going on with us. We're doing a lot of virtual training right now. Doing our part, not meeting with clients in person. Optimistic that we will be able to do that again sometime soon. And just trying to connect with people on social media as much as we can. So I did kind of start out the video by saying that Whine Wednesday is when people can join me for a glass of wine or a beverage, or to whine about their dog or anything else. But I thought that this was kind of the perfect time to bring a Whine Wednesday back. I used to do it every single Wednesday. And life has gotten just so busy, dog training so busy, which is a good problem to have, but this is kind of the perfect time. So I'm going to try and keep it on the schedule to go live like Wednesday evenings, have a glass of wine, talk about what's going on, and maybe give some training tips in between there. That's perfect, Michelle. I will hold you to it. I do like a Caesar. So yeah, and drop any comments and stuff into the little chat there. Anything you guys want to talk about, we're up for. I know it's kind of rude, and some people find it really annoying when they watch live videos and people drink wine or eat while they're talking. But I feel like it's the point of the Whine Wednesday, so I'm going to keep doing it because that's kind of the point, is for me to have a glass of wine. Tips for a nippy puppy. That's a good one. One of my biggest tips is, well, I have a lot of tips, and it does depend on how the dog kind of reacts to being, told no or corrected or redirected, that type of thing. But a big thing that I'll say to people is, if they're teething, then we do want to kind of identify that. We don't use it as an excuse, because we don't want it to become a long-term habit for the dog. So we don't want them to grow out of puppyhood and, be continuing to nip, of course, right? So to answer your question, Kristen, tips for nippy puppy. So regardless if they're teething, I'm still taking it serious. But if they are teething, I will make a little, more of an effort to try and soothe them a little bit. So I might take one of their plush toys or something, run water over it, pop it in the freezer so it feels a little bit better on their gums. Often clients will say, yeah, I did it with a face cloth and stuff. I tend to try to use one of their plush toys so that I'm not teaching them to, what is the word I'm looking for? Be attracted to things after the teething that they're not supposed to have. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of a little thing if there's a teething issue going on. One of the other things is, if you're noticing it certain points in the day, it can be kind of like a toddler needing a nap. So if every evening at 8 p.m., your dog has a little bit of a kind of hissy fit, extra mouthy, stuff like that, it might be that they need kind of a scheduled nap, a regulated nap. So crate training can kind of help with that, kind of putting them in there, making sure they kind of get that rest. But additionally, we want to interrupt the nipping. So as it's happening, I will kind of give them a no. I might take both sides of their collar, give them a bit of a no, but I'm also not staying in the moment. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is that the dog is kind of at them, and they stay in it. Where I'm going to instead remove myself from the situation. So I'm going to do that kind of correction, redirection, the learning component. What would I rather they be doing? And then I move away from them. Because they are young and it's an energetic thing. So I don't want to stay in the moment and give them that opportunity to come back. So I might go into the other room, come back a little bit later. I don't keep playing with them if they're nipping. I kind of teach them that behavior means that the game is over, things like that. But those are kind of some starting points and tips and tricks is the word I'm looking for. Some starting kind of tips and tricks for nipping. So you can let me know if that kind of helps out a little bit. And then from there, we just kind of look at the specific dog and are they responding, not responding? What do we need to modify? Because people, they can learn different as well. And sometimes they need a different approach with them. But those are definitely my starting points. Identifying teething issues, correcting, redirecting, crate time, and not staying in the moment. That's my Coles Notes version. So good question, Kristen. Yeah, and besides that, how is everyone doing? How are you surviving? I guess for us here in Cape Breton, I guess it's just lockdown 2.0. For our mainland friends, it's lockdown 3.0. And I guess, depending on where else you're from, lots more lockdowns. No problem, Kristen. That's the whole point of this, is to hop on and have some discussions. Yeah, and one of my other big tips, just because I was talking about lockdown there for a second, is I'm such a hand talker. Did you see I went to put my wine glass down, but then I realized I wanted my wine, but I'm a hand talker, so I have trouble holding the wine. It's Tasha problems for you. One of my tips for you guys during this period of time as well is to make sure you're looking for opportunities to kind of separate yourself periodically from your dog, especially those of you who are working from home, not really, there's nowhere we're really allowed to go except for essential stuff. But assuming that you're working from home, so not really leaving the house unless it's to, pick up your online grocery order, come up with ways during the day to kind of create some separation between you and the dog, whether or not it's that you periodically go in a room quietly by yourself, if the dog can tolerate that, or additionally, some crate time throughout the day. So if your dog typically would have been in the crate for, let's say, 8 hours a day because you work, depending on the age of your dog, of course, and what they can tolerate, don't, now that you're home, just have a free-for-all for them all day long, every single day, because that's going to increase the chances of separation anxiety when you go back to real life. Hopefully real life is soon. But yeah, we want to prevent kind of separation anxiety. So definitely look at that, ways that you can kind of separate yourself from them, even if it's that you go out and do some yard work and they stay in, whatever it is that you can come up with. We definitely don't want separation anxiety, and it's definitely something we saw a lot of after the last lockdown. So we had a lot of people reaching out to us who were having problems with their dogs and separation anxiety. So we want to work on that. So Terry has a question. Jumping. Cannot get a hold of the jumping. She's 10 months old. So there's kind of a couple of things. Let's see, I can't hold off my hand talking, so I need to release my hands. So there's kind of a couple of things with jumping. So sometimes there's a little bit more information that we would need. So I'm going to answer kind of in a somewhat generic sense. One of the biggest culprits for it is the way that people handle it. So anyone who's trained with me knows I probably blame human communication style as a number one contributing factor for a lot of things with dogs, because it is. They don't, speak our language, and we need to learn to communicate in a way that makes sense to them. So it is an issue. So when it comes to jumping, we want to make sure that we're not accidentally rewarding it. So in a lot of cases, there's either everyone in the household accidentally rewarding it or certain people. So let's say the scenario is that you come home from, work, a walk, it doesn't matter. You come home, the dog runs to the door, jumps up on you. What most people will attempt to do is tell the dog no, get the dog into a sit. But then what they immediately do is they reward the dog. So they reward the dog for that sit. But what's actually happening is we kind of rewarded them for the jumping because everything happened so quickly. So they're jumping on us for attention, and then we gave them the attention. So you want to make sure that if you're kind of giving them any form of correction and that no, that you're also kind of similar to the nipping situation, you're moving away from them or directing them to go somewhere. Not rewarding them for that direction that you gave them because you were trying to correct them for what they were doing. So that's one of the big things that people do, is a lot of physical touch during that rewards the behavior that they were doing. So we're trying to tell the dog no, but we're accidentally rewarding it. So that's something to consider. And then, are there people in the household that are letting the dog jump? So we see a lot of that. We see, that 3 people in the household are like, no, I don't like it. The dog knocks me over, the dog, whatever. And then there's one person in the household that's like, I like it when the dog greets me like this and hugs me when I come home from work. So it's really important that everyone in the household is on the same page, that they're having discussions. But basically what I want to do is offer some form of correction with, my no, but, correction is an interruption of a behavior. So I want to interrupt it in a way that makes sense to the dog. And then I want to teach them, what would I rather you be doing? Is it that I would rather you sit at this threshold and wait for me? Is it that I would rather you be in your pet bed? But add that learning component into it and make sure that you're not accidentally rewarding it. So hopefully that answers your question, Terry. I know I kind of threw out a couple of different scenarios because those were kind of the most common ones that we run into. Is anyone else having some wine? I know a couple of people are having a little beverage here. So also, if you're having a little beverage, share that away in the group. Robert, would you recommend putting your dog in a crate with a bone for some positive alone time? So good question. For me, it does depend on the age of the dog. I like to teach dogs that the crate is a very calm, relaxed place that they're intended to go. So I ideally want them to lay and really, for lack of a better word, be nice and zen in there. So if I'm dealing with a really young puppy, not properly housebroken yet, things like that, I'm not really going to put them, in a kennel with anything. No food, no water. Maybe something that they couldn't destroy. Maybe, depending on the dog, like a Kong or something if I felt I needed to. But I really want them to kind of go in there and relax. But to answer your question, yes, if your dog can tolerate it, if they're not going to, destroy something, depending on the bone, of course, I don't want it to be splintering on them or anything along those lines. If that's kind of a safe thing, that's going to be safe, what your dog is like around these things, then yeah, periodically being in there with something is completely okay with me. As long as they know, that's what a kennel is supposed to be, is a nice, calm area. But yeah, putting them in there, positive alone time. I'm all about some alone time for the people and the dog. Dogs often need more alone time than they get. And they, they just, especially some of the younger dogs, they just won't go have that nap that they need. Instead, they're getting themselves in trouble. So sometimes both the owner and the dog needs that alone time. So hopefully that answers your question there, Robert, because it's a little bit of it's basically a yes, but I was trying to add the technicality of how old the dog is, and I want them to know what a kennel's intended to be. So, yeah. So Jazzy, is it possible to train a 4-year-old Pomeranian to stop barking? Yes, it is. We work with a wide variety of dogs of all different ages, breeds, sizes, you name it. So yeah, we've seen dogs overcome a huge amount of different, either obedience issues or maybe behavioral issues or annoying issues. I can't think of a better way to come up with it. Some people categorize barking as a behavioral issue, but some people like it. So that's why I kind of try to put it as the annoying, because some people want their dog to alert them that someone's there and things like that. So I didn't want to categorize it for the people that like that alert. But yes, to answer your question, definitely. It often, when we're looking at an issue with a dog, there's often more than just that issue that we see as really annoying or in our face, right? So there's often other little contributing factors. So often when we're trying to overcome something, we're not solely focused just on that one thing. So I'm not solely focused on just the barking or just the jumping or the nipping, just even listing the things that happen here. I'm looking at the dog as a whole, and I'm evaluating how they view the world, how they view their relationship with their owner. And then that's when we're able to make real progress. But yes, it is something that can be fixed. The oldest dog we've worked with, I believe, it's probably 12 years old, just to kind of give you an idea. We regularly work with dogs on the older side. I mean, obviously not as common as we see puppies or dogs that are 2 and 3, but we do regularly get, a dog that's 10, 11, 12, 8, so on. And we watch owners make amazing progress with that. It just often involves, some changes and stuff. The changes in the way we communicate with them, what we let them do, what we expect from them, all that kind of stuff. So if you're up for changes, it's typically fixable. Perfect. Oh, good, Terry. I'm glad that answered your question. Marie, what do we got? When Clyde has his e-collar on, he's really good. As soon as it comes off, he won't listen, even though he knows he should. Any ideas? I attribute, so if you're using something on a dog, it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's e-collar, a martingale collar, a flat buckle collar, a harness, whatever, having a leash attached to them. If the dog is beginning to associate like a free-for-all when that item is off of them, I kind of compare it to, what's the word I'm looking for? Service dogs. Service dogs. So, you know, when you look at a service dog out in a store, you're seeing them looking straight ahead. They're so calm. They're so well behaved. That's great. The vest comes off when they get home and they run around like a little puppy and they're playing and they're whatever because they're not working anymore. So sometimes when we use tools on dogs, it's very similar to them going, okay, yes, and there's a level of, there's a consequence. You'll be able to do something if I have this on you or have this on me. There's that, the consequence. But often what we'll also see is, oh, I don't have to work anymore. This is the free time. This is the free for all. So it just might mean that you're giving the freedom sooner than they're ready for it, which is very, very common. So when we have dogs, I'll compare it to like board and train, when we have dogs here for board and train. So they're here for a 3-week period. And then after that 3-week period, I tell the owners to stick to like all of my rules for like a minimum of 90 days. And that's the minimum. It doesn't even mean that I don't want it to be longer. It's that a lot of people have trouble with rules. So 90 days is kind of like the good compromise. So it could also be that the freedom is being given a little sooner than the dog is ready to. So always remember that freedom is earned. So earned, then you get freedom. Do you just like that I have a habit? It's because I'm having the wine while talking. So then I hum to myself as I have the wine. Weird quirk. See? Can't help it. Jason would make fun of me for that. He'll watch this on YouTube later. So he will critique my funny little quirks. Because he watches YouTube a lot. Let me see where I'm at. So Marie, hopefully that answered your question. Sorry. And Jazzy, awesome. Thank you. Oh, considering adoption. Yes. Yeah. And also keep in mind, dogs can act differently around different people. So Jazzy, just to kind of tap into your question a little bit, if you kind of bring that dog into your home, they're not living with you right now, and you kind of set that stage right out of the gate with like the rules, the boundaries, the structure, it can potentially, not always, every dog is going to be different, but it can potentially be easier for you to overcome it, or maybe like quicker, things like that, because dogs will learn how to behave in certain situations. So if you're bringing them in and you're saying, hey, this is how your world is now, this is what we expect, you can sometimes see different behavior. But I don't want to give you false hope with that either. It doesn't mean that you're going to bring them home and they're not going to bark. It's going to depend on the things that happen. But it's just to kind of give you an idea. Like, so a lot of our board and trains, because we don't give the dogs the opportunity to do certain things, I don't ever see it. Like, so clients will talk about the dog stealing things and stuff. Well, I don't give them the freedom to steal it. So it's just an idea of, depending on what is happening in your house, you can get different reactions from them. So, but don't want to give you false hope. And Maria, I just see your comment there. If your dog is like supervised, Marie, then yes, it can be on. Obviously, if you're not there, there's no point for it, kind of thing. Or if they're being nice and relaxed, maybe that's when you kind of take it off and you try them out with a little bit of freedom. Oh, you're laying in your bed, I'll take it off. Oh, look, you decide to be rambunctious, I'm going to put it back on. But it can be on for a lot longer than people kind of realize. Let me see here. Okay. Boxer Doodle is 3.5 months and failed crate training after 2 nights because she got a UTI. Are y'all noticing my now when I have the wine? Because I can't stop it. Okay, so reintroducing the crate to her. So great question. So reintroducing a crate, I really start from scratch. And I'm going to compare it to when I work with like, you know, an 8-year-old dog that's never been crate trained. I, in the beginning, am not focused on getting them in and getting the door closed. I am instead focused on making this a positive experience and then building up on that. So with that kind of crate training, I am going to, so I know, guys, I didn't fully read out the question, but due to the kind of bad experience that the dog had, not being crate trained right now, but they'd like to reintroduce it, but the dog didn't handle it very well. So what we want to do is start really slow. So I will have them probably on leash and collar. It's going to give you a little better control, but I'm going to keep things very light, calm, assertive energy. And I'm going to just be really positive about the situation. But don't misunderstand me. I also say calm, assertive energy. So I don't want you to be like bubbly, like, hey, kind of thing, because we don't want them to feed off energy. Everything's going to be kind of matter of fact and calm. So I'm going to have them on leash and collar. I'm going to guide them to the crate. I'm going to reward them for sitting outside of the crate. And I'll do some drills like that. They'll be sitting outside the crate, give them some drills. I might feed them their supper next to the crate outside of it. I might put the food dish just inside of the doorway so that they have to put their head in, but they haven't actually gone in. Then I'll do drills getting in and out of the crate. So I'll use like a command, crate, kennel, whatever you use or want to use rather. And then out, or whatever you want to use for hopping out. You don't want them barging out of the kennel. You want this to be very controlled and your direction. So I'm going to put them into a sit, get them out. And I'm not going to focus on being in there very long. I'm instead just focused on making it a nice positive experience for them. And then I would work up to closing the door for a couple of seconds, adding time to that. Can I step away? So on. So I hope that kind of answers your question. And keep in mind, guys, I'm answering them super quick, Cole's Notes version. But yes, that's basically how I would kind of recondition the dog to the kennel. So great questions, everyone. Yeah, so I hope that helped out. Yeah, good questions. Look, you guys firing those off there. I wasn't even sure if it was kind of a short notice kind of decision. I wasn't even sure if anyone would show up. So good job, guys. Good questions. I love it. But yeah. So I just wanted to kind of hop on, touch base with everybody, see how things are going. Great, Kristen. I'm glad that was helpful for you. Perfect. Yeah, just wanted to hop on, touch base. We're going to look at doing more Whine Wednesdays over the next, forever-ish kind of thing, or until I get so busy again I can't keep up with it. But that is our plan. And I do want to, of course, thank everyone, for their continued support of our business. We appreciate it so, so much. Like, we appreciate every, like, comment, share. It's not even about the people who, spend the money on our business. It really is just any level of support. And I know I appreciate it so much. So, of course, during this COVID time, please think about doing that for some of your other favorite businesses as well. It's a very difficult time, having to close unexpectedly and things like that. So there are so many ways that we can support businesses without even spending any amount of money. So I know so many people out there will also support that, but I wanted you guys to know that I truly appreciate all of that support. This business is very much my happy place. And I know there are a couple of people on here who I see, so Rain there, who said that she whines to me. She gets to hear my heartbreak regularly, so she puts up with my whine. She listens to my heartbreak about closing, because it is my happy place, and I love helping people so, so much, and we can't wait to be back in person. We're just aware that right now isn't the right time for that, with what's happening. And for those of you who aren't longtime clients of mine, I myself have immune and respiratory kind of issues. So I have had to take things very serious. And anyone who's trained with me knows it takes a lot to make me cancel. We train in some pretty cold weather. We train, rainy weather, you name it. So it takes a lot for us to cancel. So I hope that wasn't a decision that was taken lightly, and we cannot wait to be back in person with everyone again. It's, we just really, really can't wait. We're just counting down and hopeful that it's soon. But in the meantime, we will do some Whine Wednesdays. We'll continue to make our training tip posts and let you guys know what goes on in our life. For those of you who don't follow our Instagram, that's where I kind of post random things, my inspirational quotes, or how my cat is stalking me, or because she stalks me regularly, or different things like that. So yeah, follow along, and thank you guys for tuning in this evening, and we will be back next week. So thank you for joining me for a glass of wine or any type of beverage, or to whine about your dog. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.